Good afternoon, everyone. I'm C. Ankit Sharma. Welcomes you all in this our class of revisionary class of chapter number 8. Today we'll be discussing the topic chapter number 8, that is return filing and self-assessment tax provision. This chapter generally consisting theoretical provision. Majority part is theoretical provisions only, but that does not mean that it is not important for your examination purpose. So never underestimate the power of theoretical provisions also. So I welcome you all again in our class. So good afternoon everyone. स्वागत आप सब लोगों का और हम लोग class start करेंगे with chapter number 8 provision. Today we will discuss also what should be the important tips for your examination purpose, because this topic does not include much technical provision. These are very procedural part, that how to file your income tax return. What exactly chapter number 8 consists, like from chapter number 1 till chapter number 7. Like chapter number 1 is for basic concept, then chapter number 2 is how to find out the residential status of a person in our country. Then we have heads of income, that how to calculate your income from house property, income from salary, PGBP income, capital gain income, and salary income from other source. After that, we have clubbing provision, set of provision, deductions, and in the last session we covered TDS provision, TCS provision, and advanced tax provision. So these all chapter number 1 till chapter number 7. Assessee is technically calculating all these things. Assessee is finding out his residential status either himself or with the help of a financial consultant or a tax consultant, a CA, a CS, an advocate, etc. So technically, chapter number 1 till chapter number 7 in practical life, it's all about calculating details, compute your income, compute your deduction, follow and compliance of TDS provision, etc. etc. Now, chapter number 8 is technically what we are going to study in this, that whatever you have done from chapter number 1 till chapter number 7, now we have to submit all these details to income tax department. So that is the details, the information what we have calculated. Now we are going to submit that information in a specified form till at a specified date and in a specified manner. So that is the compliance procedure for whatever you have done from chapter number 1 till chapter number 7. So now we are moving on declaration of liability purpose. Like the stages of income tax technically divided in 3 parts. So if somebody wants to know what are the stages of income tax, so stage number 1 is declaration of liability. And declaration of liability consists from chapter number 1 till chapter number 7, and that needs to be declared in a specified format to the income tax department. So declaration of liability consists chapter number 1 till chapter number 8. And out of this chapter number 1 till chapter number 8, from chapter 1 to 7 is the calculation part, that how you will calculate income under the head salary, how you will find out your residential status, how you will find your income under different heads, how you will deduct the TDS, etc. provision. So after the working from chapter 1 to chapter 7, now we need to submit all these information in a specified way to the income tax department, and how, when we need to do that, that is all about chapter number 8, what we are going to discuss. Technically, your chapter number 9 hai, that is the last chapter, that is calculation of tax and your total income and calculation of your tax liability. That is also the part of chapter number 1 till declaration steps. So from chapter 1 to chapter 7, what we do in separate parts, that the TDS provisions are separate, salary provisions are separate. Chapter number 9 is consolidated provision to calculate your income and tax liability. And of course, chapter 1 till 7 and chapter number 9, they all are part of declaration of liability calculation part. And now chapter number 8 is all about submitting those information in a specified manner. So now an assessee himself or via a tax consultant is going to submit your informations about your income, about your tax liability, about your deduction, etc. And chapter number 8 is going to discuss how, when, and who needs to comply all these provisions of declaration of liability. So step number 1 generally is declaration of liability. The second step is assessment of liability. That is not in your syllabus right now. In our syllabus from chapter number 1 till chapter number 9, everything is all about declaration of liability, in which from chapter 1 to 7 and chapter 9 are regarding calculation of that liability, etc., separately, and then how to present that calculation in a specified manner. That is all about chapter number 8, what we are discussing. So that is all stage number 1, that is declaration of liability. The stage number 2 is assessment of liability. Whatever you are going to submit as per chapter number 8 provision, the information, the details, etc., about your income, about your tax, the department will verify, and that is the stage number 2. That is called assessment of liability. So it's just same like when you are giving examination. So you are preparing for your examination all these time, and at the time of examination, you declare your knowledge. After seeing the question paper, you answer that, and technically what you are doing, you are actually presenting your knowledge, your declaration, whatever you have done from last 7, 8 or 9 or 10 months with your studies, you are going to declare it to the examiner. And after declaration, they are going to assess it. In the same way, it's after declaration of liability. Now the assessment of liability is to verify and to check all the information, whatever an SSC has been submitted. And all these work should be done by the department. That is called assessment of liability. And we have various assessment procedure also. That is in your final level, not in your intermediate level. And third stage is recovery of tax. After assessment, either tax need to be payable, either tax need to be refunded, or either would be there is no liability or no refund is there. So after assessment, whatever order is department is going to pass, that is called recovery of tax. It could be a payable, it could be refundable, it could be none of that. So our intermediate level only consisting stage number 1, that is declaration of liability. And technically declaration of liability in a specific manner, in a specific format, at a specified time. All these provisions going to covered under chapter number 8, that is filing of return and self-assessment. Self-assessment means you have to assess your income. You have to assess your liability of tax, of course, and you have to submit that to the income tax department. Whether it's correct or incorrect, that is going to be checked in stage number 2, that is called assessment of liability. I hope it's clear. What is the basic concept of this chapter? I believe you understood. So these are all procedures which is covered over here. No calculation part is there. Almost all the provisions are theoretical, but let me tell you, it is as much important as any other chapter. Let me give you a very interesting fact for your preparations. Fine. In 50 marks of papers of income tax part, technically, I have seen almost small chapters. Those are really easy to complete and cover and revise. Like income from house property and income from other source. In my opinion, generally the provision out of these two small chapters, those are very easy. Income from house properties, numericals are too easy to solve. You have to find out the correct GAV, and after that everything is so easy to solve. And same in case of income from other source, generally gift provision, etc. would be there. So in every attempt, I believe almost 6 to 8 marks provisions are going to be asked from these two chapters. Out of 5 heads of income, salary is a huge topic. PGBP is a huge topic. Capital gain is gigantic, of course, but these two topics can be covered easily. And in my opinion, you can revise it even a single day. Like if you will give you 3 or 4 hours in a day, you are able to revise both chapters. If you have done it previously in a very concise way, very focused way, if you have read out all the provisions and if you solve all earlier, then for the purpose of revision, these two chapters would not take more than 4 or 5 hours. You can easily revise them. Okay. Then we have clubbing provision, that is aggregation of income, and set off. More or less, in every attempt, almost 6 to 8 marks provisions would be out of these chapter also. Either there would be a set of question of 6 or 7 marks individually and no clubbing provision, or might be a 4 marks clubbing or a 3 or 4 marks set of provision, but technically it would almost cover 6 to 8 marks in every attempt. And these topics are also very important. You must remember that we have a revision class, single revision class for these both topics. So clubbing and set off is also very easy to cover, very basic provisions. If the numericals are coming from these topic, again, it is very easy to solve and you can get 100% marks from these numericals, either if it belongs to clubbing, set off, income from house property, or income from other source. Now we have residential status is also very important for the purpose of examination. And the provision regarding incidence of tax, section 5, I guess, in which you have to find out whether this income is going to be taxable for a ROR, RNOR, or NR. Various incomes are over there, 7 or 8 points, and you have to find out whether it's taxable for various category of person or not. So this kind of question also going to be asked in almost every attempt, and it cover, I guess, 4 marks. So we are talking about over here. Now we have return filing chapter, what we are going to discuss today. And I have noticed that almost in every attempt, 4 to 5 marks provisions, whether it's theoretically or a small case, 2 marks case or 1 mark case, questions would be there out of these provisions. So if we combined all this, almost we are talking about 24 or 26 marks paper out of these simple chapters. So these are very scoring. And a good thing is about all these chapters are, if the question is going to be asked from these chapter, you are able to solve it in a very short time, and you are able to solve almost 90% correct question, or in my opinion, 100% should be covered out of this provision. And there is one more concept of TDS. If I merge it with TDS and TCS, the chapter number 7, what we have covered, if we include that also, so that would be in every attempt almost 5 marks. So we are talking about almost 30 marks paper from these easiest chapter from your income tax topic. These are the trick what I'm sharing with you. And if you need to know how much time should be to revise all these topics, so I would say not more than 2 weeks. Like in 14 or 15 days, you can revise all these topics, even if you are giving only 4 to 5 hours in a day to these topics. So you will be able to revise all these topics in about 2 weeks. And if you are providing your, or if you are giving your only 4 to 5 hours in a day. So what will be the result of this? If you are able to do that, you'll almost going to cover almost 30 marks paper out of your 50 marks paper, whether it's belongs to MCQ or separate question, etc. And just try to score at least 24 or 25 marks out of these 30. Why I'm saying this? Because I know this is really easy to score 90% at least or 80% out of these questions if they are going to ask in the examination. And you can check in last 4 or 5 attempts or 10 attempts, you will find it out that almost 50% part, when income tax became for 50 marks paper, from that time duration, almost 40 to 50% question has been asked from these topic. And you can see these are so easy to solve. In my revision class, I'm also solving like May 2024 paper, November and May. And you might be seeing that these questions were so simple that if there's a 4 marks question, you can easily get 4 out of 4. If it's a 5 marks question, you can easily get 5 out of 5. Even I am giving you a margin that if that is 30 marks, you could able to score easily 24 to 25 marks. So if out of 30 you can score this, then balance left with 20 marks, which will consist deductions topic, of course, basic concept, then your salary, your PGBP, your capital gain. So these are huge, gigantic topics. And out of these topic, almost 20, 24 marks questions will be there. So of course you will score good marks in these part also. But this part is really important, and you have to revise it at least twice or thrice. So if you are able to revise these topics twice or thrice, which will not take much time in comparison to these 5 topics like deduction, basic concept, salary, PGBP, and cap gain, these will take almost 1 month. So if you are focusing on these chapter, it definitely you are going to get good marks in your income tax part. Out of 50, 30 belongs to this. So if you are able to score 24 out of this, then balance 20. If you are able to score 10 or 12, so you will have almost 70-80% marks out of those for 50 marks or paper. So that's a strategy. Please follow this strategy. That will really going to help you. And do not give more than 4 to 5 hours to these topics, and try to cover or try to revise all these topics within 2 weeks with the example, illustration, MTP, RTP, and previous year questions. So if you are able to do that, let me tell you, even if you find these topics like salary, PGBP, and basic deduction and cap gain very difficult, you will able to score good marks in your examination. That's a tip for all of you, this examination tip, and you can follow that for the better marks in your examination. When I am saying that these topic will cover almost 30 marks and you can claim or you can get 20 for 25, it does not mean that you are going to make these portion not that relevant. It is just a probability in my opinion, but you have to cover all the topic. You have to revise each and everything, whether it's salary, PGPP, etc. This is, in my opinion, not the examination structure has been decided that these chapter will cover almost these question or how much marks these will cover. So that's a trend. What is exactly going to be asked when the paper of income tax become 50 marks. So you focus on this also and prepare each and every chapter also with the full dedication. Okay. Good afternoon, Bhumika. Okay, Om Krishnan Gupta, good afternoon. So now moving on to some other provisions, or I can say some more tricks and tips for the purpose of examination. And that is going to help you a lot in your examination. So first and most important, complete your syllabus as soon as possible. Please, like examination is going to be in January 2025 and we are in November mid. Okay. So you have to complete your syllabus as soon as possible. We are at revisionary classes. So I believe that you must have gone through with the normal classes. You must have completed your all syllabus for each subject with the numericals also, with the study material questions, test your knowledge question, illustration, MTP, RTP, and I always say, please solve at least last 4 attempt question papers to understand what kind of question is going to be asked in your examination. So before that, you have to complete your syllabus as soon as possible. जिस भी student का syllabus अभी incomplete है ना, please give your more dedication, give your more time. Please be focused to first of all cover your syllabus. And syllabus covering include with solved questions, MTP, RTP, etc. So with numerical, if you are able to complete that chapter, that would be considered as completion of your that particular subject syllabus. Okay, so first of all, you have to complete your syllabus as soon as possible. The second suggestion, or we can say exam tip for all of you from my side, please solve MTP, RTP and past 4 attempts questions. Please do that. If any of you is thinking that only covering of study material questions and illustration is enough, in my opinion, that is good if you have covered each and everything from your study material, but you have to do this also. MTP, RTP will technically going to make you understand that what kind of question could be asked in your examination, and try to solve these MTP, RTP and past year questions in a time frame. If there's a 4 marks question, so you have to check that either you are able to solve that numerical in 15 minutes, if you are going to solve that a 4 marks question in 20 or 24 minutes. So that's not a correct solution. Actually, you are devoting more time. And in that case, you will not be able to attempt full 100 marks paper in your examination. So if there is a question of 15 marks, like compulsory question, so it should be solved within 30 to 40 minutes. So if you devote more than that time period in solving a 15 marks question, so technically you have to leave some questions in your examination paper. So please, you have to attempt full paper in your examination. So for that purpose, you have to practice with a time frame. So please take a watch, stopwatch, or etc. Take a time and then try to solve MTP. So MTP is like complete question paper, mock test paper in the form, the kind of paper is going to be asked in your examination. So make a timer and then solve the full question and then see what in what speed you are lacking. So if you're not able to solve those questions within time, look, one student is solving all questions correctly. But if he's taking time, 4 hours, then that means he would have problem in the examination because he won't be able to solve those questions in a specified time frame. So you have to increase your speed, and that is only possible if you are practice for that. So if you are going to attempt MTP, we have 2-3 series or MTP. So try to attempt first series full questions and find out how much time you take. Then the other MTP, you have to try that you should complete that within a such time frame. And then RTP questions are very important. Past 4 attempts question paper, you have to solve within 3 hours. So, and you have to divide your time. So if there's a 100 marks paper in front of you and you are having 3 hours for that, then you have to do one thing. You have to understand that within 1.5 hours, at least my 50 marks paper should be attempted. And you can also subclassify it. That at least in a 30 minutes, almost 15 marks paper or 15 to 20 marks paper should be attempted. So that is you in your preparation for examination purpose, you have to set your goals in short ways. Like for starting 30 minutes, I have to attempt at least 15 marks paper. Then in other 30 minutes, I have to attempt other 20 or 15 marks paper. Then for 30 minutes, we have to complete at least our 50 to 55 marks paper in 1.5 hours. So you have to do that. And how you will able to do that? Whenever you will receive the examination paper before your examination, 15 minute time you have. So you can make your strategy, which question you are going to attempt first and second and third. And you can mark on there that is first question I will attempt. And the double star means second, I will attempt those questions and as on. So that is different kind of strategies you need to follow as per your convenience. But the moral of the story is this, that time frame solution is mandatory. So you have to match up the speed also. That should be very, very important for examination purpose. And this could be possible only with the help of practice. Make your schedule and follow it very, very strictly. You have to now the time is not, you don't have much time. You have only 1.5 months for your examination. So you have to make a schedule that I will study for 12 hours in a day. And divide your time. I will study this thing in the morning or these hours for this subject or at the evening or in the night. And please follow it very, very, very strictly. Do not, this is not the time to waste anything. So this is the time which will decide your future also. So please do not play with your future. That is in your hand, that if you are able to follow your schedule, you have to decide that at which point of time I have to study, and when you study, please study. It doesn't mean that if you are giving 12 hours for your study, but you are not give your input of 12 hours. If you are having book in front of you for 1 hour, and if you are not focused, you are thinking about something else, then what is the need of having that book in your hand? So that's a rule of study, or this is a rule of life technically. When you study, you study. When you play, you play. When you party, you party. So because it's the time to study, so please focus and devote your full concentration on your studies. I'm not asking that you should study for 16 hours or 18 hours in a day. No, 10 to 12 hours is enough. But if you are giving your 10 to 12 hours, actually going to study with your full focus and dedication, in that case, that time is enough. there should be a time for relaxation also. There should be some time for your mental relaxation that is really required, because you have also be mentally and physically fit for your examination purpose. Sacrifice your parties and functions. Okay, if there's very close party or function, and if you can manage, if you are giving your 2 or 3 hours in a function, then you have to compensate that also. You have to read extra, you have to study extra on some other day. But in my opinion, you have to sacrifice your parties and functions, because not much time left with all of you, and that sacrifices will pay off. So मेरे हिसाब से हिंदी में से कहते हैं कि हमारा जो सीए कोर्स है, दैट्स लाइक अ तपस्या. पुराने जमाने में जो साधु वाधु करते थे ना, तपस्या, इट्स लाइक अ तपस्या, एंड दे हैव टू सेक्रीफाइस अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग to gain the vardhan from the god, etc. So this is exactly the same. You have to sacrifice your parties, your functions, your friends, and your etc. Diwali, Holi, etc. And that the in return you will get, of course, the success. Fine. Continuous revision of all subjects with planning is very, very, very important ingredient of success. If you are covering your subject and you left it for 1 month, and let me tell you, if you start revising it after 1.5 months, you will find it a new subject. You will feel you will not remember anything out of that subject, and especially with income tax, it is a problem. If you have covered any topic 1.5 months before, it's like the PGBP, etc., and after 1.5 months, now you're trying to revise it, you will find it out it's a completely new topic for you, and you will not be able to recall the provision. That is the problem with income tax topic, at least I know. So what we need to do, we need to continuous revision. You cannot leave any subject like this. Even if you try to give 1 hour for revision every day to income tax, that would be enough. If you have completed your syllabus of income tax, then do not leave it for 1 month. After 1 week, you start revising from basic chapter 1, then residential status, then etc. etc. Give your at least 1 hour in a day, so that topic will be in your, of course, learning. That topic will not be a new topic when you will try to revise it. It will be in your touch, so you can easily reconnect with the provision. But if you leave it completely, then it would be definitely a great problem for you. And let me tell you, there might be some student, what those must be correlating with this, what I am saying. They must have left the income tax after completing it. And if they are trying to revise it after 1 month or 1.5 months, you all might be finding it a new subject for yourself. Is it happening with someone? Regarding any subject, is it happening? Let's see. Any one of you have completed any subject, and then after 1.5 months you are trying to revise it, and now you are feeling you do not remember anything out of that subject? Abhishek Singh is saying yes. In which subject it's happening, Abhishek? Income tax. Molu is also saying exactly same thing. It's happened. It happens in human nature. You cannot technically going to concrete any information like that. So if you after 1.5 months, if you try to revise those subjects, you will find it completely different. So what is the solution? That you have a continuous revision. If you complete income tax today, after 1 week you start revision. Either give 30 minutes or 1 hour in a day, that's it. But that 1 hour will reconnect you with the provision, because when you start reading basic concept, or automatically the rates of tax, etc. has been revised. Then you will come to the residential status, you will revise, and that will not take much time. You can revise the full residential status chapter in 2 hours if you have already completed that chapter with all numerical, etc. So that is the only thing which will make those subjects, those provision, like a concrete in your brain, and you will not going to forget it. And at the time of second revision, it will not take that much time to revise all these provisions. So that is a very important thing. Please follow this continuous revision of all subject with planning. Next is, and these tips are not that I have copied from somewhere. That is my personal experience. When I was a student, I actually followed each and everything like this. And when I was teaching live classes, face-to-face classes till 2020, I was actually telling each and every student that please follow these guidelines. And if any one of you try to follow these guidelines, it works. It really, really, really works. Like the 6th point is also very important. Please, from Monday to Saturday, rigorous study. Do not compromise with your studies. You have to follow your schedule. You have to give your full dedication and focus to your study for 6 days plan. I call it as a 6 day plan. Either you can do it from Monday to Saturday, but I want you to one day to little relax. So in my opinion, if you want, you can relax your study plan a little bit on Sunday or whatever day you want. You can do that. But one day you need to relax your mental health also. On Sunday, I'm not asking you to enjoy full day, but if you are studying for 12 hours from 1 to 6 days, that for Sunday, kindly make it of 4 or 5 hours. The other 5 hours you should spend with your family or your friends or any activity you like, whether playing cricket, whether playing chess, whether playing whatever, whether watching TV, movie, etc. It does not matter. The 6 days, how you study, will decide your success. The 7 day does not matter that much. If you are able to study nicely on these 6 days, it will be enough. So for your mental health and your physical health also, it is very, very important that you should relax your mind and body also. So take a day and just relax yourself a little bit on that particular day. So what will happen in the next day from next Monday or the next Monday, you will be able to feel that energy to study again. Like in my time, I generally do what? I study from Monday to Saturday completely, and on Sunday, I do not study at all. Do not study at all. I play video games. I went to play sports like chess, football, cricket, etc. So I do not study, and I watch TV a lot, like 5 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours a day. I could watch TV that time also, and I can watch TV today also. Unlimited TV I can watch. So at that day, I decided on Sunday, I generally study for 3 or 4 hours, very little. And the remaining time I study, I do not study at all. I enjoy that day. And what exactly happened for the next day, from Monday, I was feeling so energetic. I was feeling so fresh to study again. That is very important because it's very difficult to study for all 7 days for next 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months. It's not practically possible. So you might be mentally ill or might be physically ill. So just relax your body also. That is a very important part for your study plan. Please follow that. Focus on your weaknesses and trust your strength. Very, very important for your examination. We all know that we are weak in some topics of a particular subject, or we are weak in particular subject only. Like somebody might be feeling that GST is very difficult for that, or someone is feeling that income tax very difficult, or might be someone is feeling income tax is easy, but PGBP is very difficult, or PGBP and salary both are difficult, or somebody is feeling that accounts is difficult and income tax also difficult, and other chapter also difficult, other topic subject. So if you are feeling all these difficult, then it's very difficult for you to become a CA. So for an average student, I feel that he or she might be feeling that some topics are difficult in any subject. That could be 20% part of your syllabus or that particular subject, or 30%. But you should know what is your weakness and do not leave it. That's very important. If anyone in your life is know about his weakness and his strength, that is very important to find out what is your weakness, and you have to make it strong. So if someone of you is feeling that PGBP is your weakness, then do not leave it. What we need to do, we need to give more time to PGBP now. So if you need to revise that PGB chapter twice and thrice, and after that, you will find that not that difficult. You could take help from your seniors, your sincere friends, your parents, etc. So whatever your weaknesses are, and we all know our weaknesses, we can hide that from the world, but we cannot hide those weaknesses from ourselves. So you all know what is your weaknesses, whether it's theoretical subject, whether it's numerical topic or anything. So do not let it go like this. That could harm you a lot in your examination. Suppose you expected that, okay, fine, I will leave salary topic. I will cover each and everything of income tax, but salary is not my cup of tea, so I'm going to leave it. And suppose there is a compulsory question of 15 marks comes in the examination, and that is from salary head. What will happen? Out of those 50 marks of portion of income tax, 15 marks question has been from salary. So you have left with 35 marks paper to solve. And when you will see that salary question in your paper, your mind will blow away. You will be nervous. Oh God, what happened? And those 35 marks paper also you are not going to attempt very nicely if you will see that question that you are not able to solve that 15 marks question at all. So please find out your weaknesses and trust your strength. If you know that you have covered revised things, then do not get nervous. It will happen before examination. Let me tell you, before like 10 or 15 days before examination, it will happen with each of you. Those are sincere students. It will happen that you will feel that you have forget everything. You will not remember any provision. You will feel that. Only those students will feel that who have done sincere study. Those who did not study at all, he will not feel this thing. Only those students feel this feeling that they have not remember anything from any subject. But it is a normal thing. It's a human feeling. It will help. It will be there. But just trust yourself. Trust your dedication. Trust your study. That you have revised subject twice and thrice. You have completed all the question of study material, past year question, MTP, RTP. So if you have done that, that nervousness will go away. But for some point of time, each and every one of you feel that nervousness that you have forget each and everything. But focus your weaknesses. Do not leave your weaknesses like that. You have to give more time. You have to take help from your friends, etc. But if any chapter, any topic is disturbing you, kindly do not leave it like that. Like there was a story, na? एक वो tortoise and bunny rabbit story. So एक rabbit और tortoise की रेस होती है, आप सभी को पता है. और उसमें rabbit was over confident कि मैं तो जीत ही जाऊंगा tortoise से. तो वो रास्ते में सो जाता है. Tortoise धीरे 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 जाकर रेस को जीत जाता है. So don't be overconfident. That story does not complete over there. The part 2 is there. जब रैबिट हार जाता है तो सब उसका बहुत मजाक उड़ाते हैं. अरे यू आर बेवकूफ, तुम हार गए, रैबिट होके हार गए, टॉर्टोइस से हार गए, ये कैसे हो सकता. उसको बहुत गिल्टी होती. Then he asked the tortoise के let's race again. And now what happened? Tortoise was overconfident कि तो फिर से he will sleep and I will win again. But rabbit learned from his mistakes that I should not be overconfident. जब नेक्स्ट टाइम रेस हुई तो रैबिट ने फिर रेस्ट नहीं किया, फटाफट से रेस कंप्लीट की उसने एंड ही वन. सो ही अंडरस्टूड व्हाट इज माय वीकनेस. आई वाज ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट एंड व्हाट इज माय स्ट्रेंथ दैट आई कैन बीट हिम इजीली. द सेकंड टाइम द टॉर्टोइस वाज ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट ही विल अगेन स्लीप अगेन. सो दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. सो नेक्स्ट टाइम थर्ड टाइम रेस हुई. अभी टॉर्टोइस को बहुत गिल्टी फील हुआ कि आई लॉस्ट. क्या करते, थर्ड टाइम उसने कहा चलो फिर से रेस होगी. टॉर्टोइस ने कहा रैबिट से लेट्स रेस अगेन, बट रूट विल बी चेंज्ड. अब रैबिट वापस से ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट में हो गया कि अरे नेक्स्ट टाइम भी आया था, आई विल नॉट स्लीप, सो आई विल विन अगेन. उसने कहा ठीक है वापस से रेस हो. देन थर्ड टाइम दे हैड दैट रेस एंड नाउ द न्यू ट्रैक डिसाइड किया टॉर्टोइस ने. उसके बीच में रिवर थी, रिवर को क्रॉस करके फिनिशिंग पॉइंट रैबिट फटाफट से भागा, बट रिवर पे जाके रुक गया बिकॉज ही कैन नॉट स्विम. बट टॉर्टोइस धीरे 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 आया, स्विम किया एंड फिनिश लाइन को क्रॉस किया. सो ही फाइंड इट आउट दैट व्हाट इज द वीकनेस ऑफ रैबिट, दैट ही कैन नॉट स्विम, एंड व्हाट इज माय स्ट्रेंथ दैट आई कैन स्विम. सो ही वन लाइक दैट. सो यू हैव टू फाइंड आउट द स्ट्रेंथ एंड weaknesses of yourself and you have to cover that. You have to back up your strength and you have to find out your flaws, your weaknesses, and you cannot leave them like this in these kind of CA examination. This is not BCom examination, that is not BA, that is CA. So you cannot leave anything. You have to cover each and everything and find it out your weaknesses and kindly cover that. Okay? This is again the point number 8. What I always say, go for comprehensive studies, not for selected study. Do not go for 8 chapters out of 10 chapters completely. In my opinion, it is better to do your preparation average for your 10 chapters rather than only completing 7 chapters very nicely and leaving 3 topics. That is a bad way. It's a bad strategies for your examination purpose. So don't leave any topic. Go for comprehensive study, study each and everything. It will be okay if you are not very much comfortable in one or two chapter, but at least not leave those chapter. Complete those chapters. So if anything comes from those topic, you are not blank in the examination. You are not going to leave that question. You are able to attempt something. So it will be good for staff marking. Even if you will get something, that would be really good in your examination purpose. If you have any problem, discuss with your seniors. Sincere friends, please remember this. Do not share problem with those cannot help or those cannot understand your problem. If you discuss your problems for examination, nervousness, etc. with your BCom friends, they would not be able to even help because they won't be able to understand. So please discuss your problem, either it's for subject, either for any personal issues, etc. Then have to discuss with your senior, friends, and most important, your parents. Do not hide that. If you feel that you have weak in any subject, you need extra attention, any other book, etc., or any other kind of help, then please feel free to ask your parents. They will definitely going to help you. Or take consultation from seniors or sincere friends is never going to make you in a bad position. So please, if you have any issue, kindly talk to your seniors, sincere friends, and parents to find out the solution. And be positive. Don't give up in any situation. I personally know those students, those actually went for the examination and they do not have very good examination. That first paper was not so good, and they believe that they won't be able to score 40 marks in that first paper, so they left the other papers also. Do not do this kind of mistake. Technically, it's a silly mistake. And when the result came, I saw that they scored 40, 41, 42 marks even that first paper. So if they would have tried to give all other paper also, so might be they are able to clear that examination, or even if not going to clear that examination, you will get an experience of the examination. That is very important. So that experience cannot be given by any other thing. Not the MTP, RTP, or past year examination will not give you that experience. What you will actually have when you will in the examinations. Be positive. If you even think that you have only 1.5 months left for your examination and you are not completed your subject, so don't be depressed. See the positive side. You still have 45 to 50 days for your examination purpose. And in 50 days, Earth will take 50 rounds at least. So the world can round 50 times. So why can't you study for 50 days that much so you will be able to score good marks? Either you should have that feeling that you have done your best in 15 days. Whatever will be the result, that is not in your hand, but the study and the hard work is in your hand. So be positive. Do not feel anything that you cannot clear your examination before giving it. So you have to prepare for next 50 or 60 days, whatever time you have. Give your full dedication and focus, and do not give up in any situation. Whatever is the circumstances, do not give up. Just fight. The result will be decided by your destiny and other things. But you have only one thing in your hand, and that is your hard work. And the last thing, what I always say in my notes, revise twice. That's my advice to make you wise. So as many times you will revise the provision, that will make your concept clear. That will make your study strong, and that will make your chances or probability to clear your examination very easily. These were some points for the examination purpose. Now let's move on to the provisions of chapter number 8. So we have discussed that what technically this chapter consists in itself. These are filing provision, etc. Okay, Liana Rias is asking, how many revision mock test is needed, sir? In my opinion, at least 2 revisions is required. But if you do not have that much time, at least 1 revision should be there before giving any mock test or previous year question paper need to be solved. At least 1 revision is mandatory, and that is with by solving all the questions also. Revision should not be only theoretical provision. It should be with all numericals, all study material question, etc. After that, you will be able to go for mock test, etc. Okay, so at least one revision is minimum required. But if it is two revisions you has been done, that would be a perfect condition to give your RTP, MTP or previous year question papers. And if you are able to solve, let me tell you, if you are able to solve mock test papers and previous year question paper within a time frame, your probability to clear this group will be more than 85%. Okay. Okay. Next, moving on. Writing practice that you need to do yourself. You are not kids now. You are students actually. You are smart students technically. So that writing practice you have to done with yourself. I have told you that if there is a 4 marks question, it would not take more than 15 or 16 minutes. That's more than enough. If it's a 6 marks question, you should not devote more than 22, 23 minutes. It's a 15 marks question that should be solved within 35 or 40 minutes. So that kind of strategy, if you're 2 marks question, that would be solved in, I guess, 5 minutes, more than enough for a 2 marks question. Fine. So what does this chapter says? First of all, the chapter tells you about those person needed to file their return of income compulsory. Those needs to file their return compulsory. Then we have return of loss. Then we have belated return provisions. And then we have revised return provision. And a new concept has been introduced like 2 years before, and that was updated return. So these topics going to be discussed. Then interest for default and furnishing of return of income under section 234A. Like we discussed section 234B and 234C interest provision in our last session. So we will tell when 234B will be applied. What is the applicability of 234B interest and C interest? Let's see who able to give me the answer of this question. What is the applicability of interest under section 234B and C? Only the applicability I am asking. I am not asking the other provision rate and the date. No. When these interest would be applied. Abhishek Singh is saying advance tax late payment. That is okay. But I just wanted to know when 234B interest will be applicable. In what situation of advance tax and when 234C would be applicable. In a one line, how you will communicate with me that when 234B interest would be applicable and when 234C interest would be applicable. In just a single sentence, in a single line, it's very easy to solve. Malu is saying short payment. What short payment? When? How much short payment in case of 234B? Okay, Bhumika is saying, right, advance tax paid is less than 90% of assessed tax. If advance tax paid by you is less than 90% of assessed tax, then 234B apply. Very good, Bhavna. That is correct. Correct, Om Krishnan. Very good. Now, when 234C is applicable, in a short way, I just need the answer. 234C, Pooja is saying when non-payment of installment, you should say, Pooja, short payment on installment, not non-payment. Short payment. Like on the first date, first time date, it was 12%, then 36%, then 75%, and then 100%. So if the advance tax paid on the specified dates is less than 12%, because it's the requirement is 15, but interest for the interest applicability, it's 12. 12, 36, 75 and 100. Then interest would be applicable. Correct. Okay. One more question to all of you. Is it possible that both interest under section 234B and C would be applicable, or there are mutually exclusive event? Matlab 234B and C can be applicable on same assessee, or it is a mutual exclusive event. That means if 234B applicable, then 234C would not applicable, or vice versa. So if they both can be applicable simultaneously, or they are mutually exclusive cases. What is the correct answer? 234B or C? Om Krishnan is saying mutually exclusive. I am asking 234B and C can be simultaneously, or they are mutually exclusive event. Bhumika is saying mutually exclusive, okay, or so they cannot applicable. If you are saying mutually exclusive, that means both cannot be applicable in same condition or same assessee. Pooja is saying individual. Individually means, I guess, exclusive, mutually exclusive. So if 234 be applicable, then C would not applicable. So those are giving the answer mutually exclusive. Their means is if B applicable, then C won't be applicable. And if C is applicable, then B won't be applicable. And if you will say simultaneously, that means both can be applicable. B and C both can be applicable. Okay. So we have answered from some students, and each and everyone is saying mutually exclusive. And the correct answer is they could applicable simultaneously also because the conditions are different. The 234B says if aggregate advance tax is less than 90% of assessed tax, then it would be applicable. And 234C said short payment of different dates. Suppose an assessee only paid 10% of advance tax, that is single tax payment. He paid only 10% of advance tax in the full year, only 10%. So in this case, 234C would be applicable because he has paid less than 12% on first date, less than 36% on second date, less than 75% in third date, and less than 100% on last date. So he defaulted on all 4 days, all 4 dates, if he only deposit 10%. And because he only deposited 10%, so he's also violating section 234B condition, which says advance tax should not be less than 90%. And he just deposit 10%. So he is as well as violating 234C, different dates, prescribed percentage limit provision, and an aggregate 90% provision also he is violating. So it could be applicable simultaneously. What 234A is? 234 is separate. It does not belong to B or C. It could be applicable individually also, and it could be applicable combined also. Again, 234A also not mutually exclusive. 234B and C can also be applicable with 234A because 234A has nothing to do with advance tax. This is for late filing of return of income. If you file your return of income after due date, then from that, after expiry of the due date till the date of actual filing of return or assessment, that duration you have to pay interest under section 234A. Then we have fees for default in furnishing income late, that is section 234F, that piece is 1,000, and in some case it would be 5,000. Then we have some procedure regarding permanent account number, that is PAN. That is when PAN need to be obtained, where we need to put our Aadhaar number, fees for non-intimation of Aadhaar number, submission of return through TRP, person authorized to verify return of income, self-assessment and tax on updated return. So these topics are started from here. The Income Tax 1961 contains provisions for filing of return of income. The return of income in the format in which the assessee furnish information. Information is, that is called declaration of liability. A self-declaration regarding his total income and tax payable. The format for filing of return by different assessees notified by CBDT. Okay. The particulars of income earned under different heads, GTI, deduction, and gross total income. As I explained in the starting of this class, that is chapter number 127 plus chapter number 9. These all belongs to calculation by assessee or his tax consultant. And all this calculation and information need to be submitted at prescribed time, in prescribed form, in a prescribed way. That is chapter number 8 we are talking about. But chapter 1 to 9, total is covered in step number 1, that was called declaration of liability. Fine. In short, a return of income is what? Return of income is a declaration of income and the resultant tax paid by assessee in the prescribed format. Next is filing income tax return is mandatory? Yes, of course it is mandatory. I've also So in following cases, filing of income tax return is mandatory. If you are a company and a firm, you need to file your income tax return always. If you are a company and a firm. If you are other than a company and a firm, then if assessee or if you are a deemed assessee, that income of another person is assessable in your hand. And if your income, total income, or that deemed assessee on behalf of that person you are assessable, if total income of that person is exceeding your basic exemption limit, that is 2,50,000, 3 lakh and 5 lakh in optional regime, and for default regime it's only 3 lakh rupees. So if your total income exceeding these exemption limit, you have to file your return of income. Then compulsory filing for resident and ordinary resident. Those resident and ordinary resident, those are not covered under point number A and B. Those are not covered in this category. Those are not covered in this category. And if they are beneficial owner of any asset which is held outside India. So if you are a beneficial owner of any asset which is held outside India, or you are a beneficiary of an asset held outside India, then you also need to file your income tax return. So you are a beneficial owner plus you having a signing authority in any bank account outside India. So we have discussed these provision in detail in our normal class also. I'm just trying to revise those basic or important topic which we should revise from this topic. So of course, if you are a resident and ordinary resident, and if you are fulfilling point number 1 or 2, then you also need to file your income tax return. Then we have D point, which says if you are an individual HUF, AOP, BOI, AJP, and your total income before deducting deduction under section 80C to 80U, and before providing these capital gain exemption, before providing, because your total income will be after deducting these two things. So you need to add back them. So without providing deduction under chapter 6A and without providing these deductions, if this income exceeding your basic exemption limit, then also you need to file the return of income. Again, if you are under default tax regime, then deduction only 3 will be out of these deduction. We have discussed 80JJAA for default tax regime, and there were 80 CCD2, and one was Agnipath Yojana, I guess, 80 CCH, I guess this is the correct section. So for default tax regime, after adding back these 3 deductions, if your basic exemption limit exceeding 3 lakh, and for other case, if your basic exemption limit exceeding 2.5, 3 and 5, after adding this, then you also file return of income. Under point number E, there are specified transactions. If you does not fall in any other category, but you are fulfilling certain condition and transaction, like your TDS deducted more than 25,000, or in case of senior citizen, it's more than 50,000, etc., then you also need to file your income tax return. So this is an important topic from your chapter number 8 that could be asked in examination, that who are required to file your income tax return. So we have the specific provision regarding all these topics, like company and firm, other than a company and firm, the ROR, if he's a beneficiary of any asset or as a signing authority in any account or as a beneficiary in any asset, then he is to file return of income. What is the meaning of beneficial owner, beneficiary, etc. has been given over here. Then further, the point number D, what we discussed, that if you are an individual, HUF, AOP, BOI, or AJP, and if your total income before giving these deduction and these exemption exceed the basic exemption limit, then you also need to file your ROI. What are the basic exemption limit? It has been discussed already in chapter number 1. For default tax regime, it's 3 lakh rupees, but for default tax regime, only 3 deduction would be added back. For normal tax regime, of course, you have to add back all the deduction and all the exemption under section 54, which is for capital gain. And for other optional tax regime, the basic exemption limit will be 250, 3 or 5 lakh as the case may be. There are certain transactions in which case you have to file your income tax return. That is point number A. If you deposit 1 crore in one or more current account, if you have expenditure for foreign travel exceeding 2 lakh rupees, if you have incurred expenditure for 1 lakh rupees exceeding for electricity, or you fulfill such other prescribed condition. We have also some prescribed condition over here, that if your total sale or turnover of business exceeding 60 lakh, if it is a profession, your receipt exceeding 10 lakh, if the TDS, TCS has been deducted 25,000 or more, if you are a senior citizen, this TDS, TCS has been deducted more than 50,000, or the deposit in one or more saving account is more than 50 lakh during the previous year. So technically till point number 4 of point number 5, this was point number 5. And this is point number 4. You have to file your return of income mandatorily if you fulfill any of the conditions. So that point number 5 is A, B, C, D, E. A point is for company and firm. Other than company and firm provision we have discussed. Then that is ROR provision. Then we have provisions before allowing deduction and exemption if your income exceeding basic exemption limit, and then a specified transaction. If you fall in those transactions, you have to file your income tax return. Give the date of filing of income tax return for a specified category of person, 31st October. For a company other than a company whose accounts are required to be audited, or a partner of that firm whose accounts are required to be audited. 30th November, if you fall under transfer pricing provision under section 92E, 92A will be discussed in final level, and 31st July for any other person except point number 1 or 2. These illustration I have discussed in the normal class. You must have gone through with those illustration, etc. Now, return of loss is a very interesting thing, and because the loss is connected with the set off of losses chapter, and I guess section 80 says that losses under the head except income from house property can be carried forward and set off only the return of such loss has been filed within due date under section 139(1). So loss under the head income from house property can be carried forward even if return has been filed after due date. But any other loss can be carried forward only if the return has been filed under due date. So that will be called a return of loss. And section 80 connected with section 139(3). So you can see section 80, that is for set off of losses chapter, requires mandatory filing of return of loss under section 139(3) on or before the due date as specified under section 139(1) for carry forward of the following losses. And you can see all losses need this except income from house property loss. However, the loss under the head income from house property under section 71B and unabsorbed depreciation under section 32. So there are two exceptions. They can be carried forward and set off even if return of loss under section 139(3) has not been filed before the due date. What are belated, updated, revised return? So there is a due date, that is section 139(1). So if your return is filed up to section 139(1) due date, which is 31st of July, 31st of October, that has been extended till 15th of November this year, and 30th of November. So if return has been filed up to these date, it would be called a return filed on due date. But any return which has been filed after due date, any return which has been filed after due date up to last date of filing of return, that is 31st December, that is called belated return or revised return. So any return which has been filed after due date will be called a belated return, or if that return again filed, that is revised, that it will be called a revised return. The provision says belated return is the meaning any person who has not furnished a return within the time allowed to him under section 139(1) may furnish the return for any previous year at any time before 3 months prior to the end of the relevant assessment year. So the fixed date is 31st December, or the very important thing is before the completion of assessment, whichever is earlier. So generally the date of filing of return is 31st December 2024, the last date. Okay. But if the completion of assessment has been done after December, then this date would be the last date. But suppose the completion of assessment has been done on 10th of December 2024, then this would not be called the last date for filing of belated return. Then you have to file return before this date. Clear? Revised return, if any person has been filed return under section 139(1) or has been filed belated return and he wants to revise it, if he wants to rectify anything out of it or need to omit anything, then he can change that return or he can file that return again. That would be called a revised return. So a belated return or a normal return filed on due date, both can be revised. And the time period is exactly the same as for filing the belated return. A very interesting, very wonderful, very diagram has been in your study material, and that is for the recap of provision till now, and it is beautifully drafted. They are in the first part of this diagram, they are explaining you mandatory filing of return of income under section 139(1). So we have discussed this was A point, company and firm. This was B point, this was C point, that was D point, and that is E point. So technically those are both under E point. That was A point and that was C, that was D, and that was E point. The B point was regarding if you are other than individual HUF and having your income more than basic exemption limit, then you also need to file your return of income. That was separately given over there, not in this table. Due date, already we have discussed, it would be 30th November or 31st of October or 31st of July. Return of loss provision already has been summarized in a tabular form, and so on. Belated return and revised return provision also has been mentioned in this diagram. So this is a very interesting diagram to revise all the provision till now. Illustration it's asking, we have already discussed these illustrations, so we are not going to discuss those illustration again. Now section 234A. It says interest for default in furnishing return of income. Now, if I want to ask you one thing, that to calculate interest, generally we need to know four things. So if you will give me these four things, I would be able to calculate the interest on any case. First of all, the thing we need to know to calculate interest, the applicability, that why interest need to be charged. Or I can say when we need to charge the interest. So when it is applicability, so 234A is applicable when return has not been filed up to due date. So if return of income filed after due date, then 234A interest would be applicable. So I have explained you one out of these four things to calculate interest, and that is applicability, like section 234B, when interest would be applicable. So first of all, we should know when it will be applicable. So 234A would be applicable when ROI has not been filed up to due date or ROI filed after due date. What more thing we need to calculate interest in any case? What else we need to know? Abhishek Singh is asking, in cases belated return, losses except house property loss cannot be carried forward. Yes, absolutely right. Losses except house property loss cannot be carried forward if the return is a belated return. All the loss would be lapsed. They would be nil, zero. Okay, so for the purpose of calculation of interest, first thing need to know is the applicability. I told you. What other thing we need? Correct. Om Krishnan is Gupta is saying correct. The other thing we need to know the amount on which we should calculate interest. And third also, he said rate we should know. What is the rate of interest? And Abhishek Singh explained the last thing, and that is time period. Very well done, everyone. So if we need to know these four things we have, then we are able to calculate the interest. I need one more thing, that is calculator. So we all know this thing in examination purpose also. Without calculator, might we would not be able to solve or to calculate interest that easily. So technically, we need four things to find out the interest in any cases: the applicability, the amount, the rate, and the time duration. So the rate is 1% per month or part of the month. Part of the month means if we delayed in filing of return is 4 months, 4 days. 4 months, 4 days, then we will charge 5-month interest. That means 5% interest would be charged. If we delayed for 8 months, 10 days, then we will charge 9% interest. So part of the month means even a single day will be counted as full month. Clear? Now the time period. So time period would be start after due date. After due date till filing of return or assessment complete, as the case may be. So if my due date is 31st of July, so that means the time of interest will start from 1st August 2024. And suppose I filed my return on 10th November 24. So August, September, October and November, that means total 4-month delays. So 4-month interest will be calculated. Rate of interest and amount on which is required to be calculated. Yes, sir. Interest for 1 month and 1 day. Exactly correct, Bhumika. If it's 1 month and 1 day, 2 months calculation, that means 2% interest would be charged. As in my example, I was delayed for 4 months and 10 days. So 3 months, August, September, October, November, 3 months and 10 days I was delayed. So interest would be charged for, of course, 4 months. That is 4%. So we find out the applicability. We find out the rate of interest. We find out the time period. Now the amount. The amount would be tax assessed, whatever the tax in your return, less any TDS, TCS, advance tax, any relief paid, any AMT credit, etc. The balance would be charged with 4%, and that would be your answer. Clear? So everything would be given in examination. In examination, they will provide you the amount of tax, or maybe you need to assess that or to calculate that tax. But they will provide you how much TDS, advance tax, TCS has been paid. So you need to deduct it. On balance amount, which has need to be paid now, the rate of interest would be applicable. Clear? So provisions has been given over here. Simple interest of 1% per month is payable for the period commencing from the date immediately following the due date and ending on the following. If the return is filed, so last date would be the date of furnishing of return. And if return has not been filed, the date of completion of assessment, as the case may be. The amount calculation has been given in point number 3, amount of total tax on income reduced by advance tax, TDS, any relief under 89, 15 JD, that is AMT credit, etc. need to be deducted. Now self-assessment tax, that is nothing. You have to assess tax yourself. That is computation of tax liability is called self-assessment. Payment of tax and interest and fees before furnishing the whatever tax is payable. The self-assessment tax is those tax which has not been paid earlier. Via we have already discussed that what are the collection of tax method. In TDS provision, we have discussed that is collection of tax, like government collect your tax in different ways in the previous year also. In the form of TCS, in the form of advance tax, in the form of TDS, etc. So whatever is your tax liability at the time of filing of your return, whatever is your assessed tax, you have to deduct your TDS, advance tax, MAT credit, AMT credit, then you relief, etc. You can see the amount of tax paid already need to be deducted, the TDS, relief, AMT credit, any other tax paid in section 191(2). Order of adjustment, we have discussed each and everything already in detailed topics. So we have to complete MCQ also. We have almost 18 and 20 MCQs. We have question from May 2024 and November 2023. That again we will going to discuss. Interest under section 234B. That has been discussed in advanced tax provision. Updated return, again, this is a important topic in my opinion for the purpose of examination. Everything is important, of course. The first important topic from this chapter was compulsory filing of return of income. So those person need to file income compulsory. That was a very, very interesting topic and it could be asked in examination. And the second important topic in my opinion would be updated income tax return. This new concept has been introduced, I guess, 2 years before. The last days was 31st December 2024 for filing of return. But it is a very short time. Like your return filing date is 31st October in other cases or company tax audit cases. So if somebody forget to file return in October, then you have only November and December, only 2 months remaining. And if those 2 months has been passed on, you are not able to file your income tax return. So for those cases, if somebody has not able to file his return of income, then department started a new concept of updated income tax return. And that has been provided 2 years. within 2 years, you can also file your updated return. If you have filed your return earlier also, then you can again file your return after 31st December 2024 in the form of updated return. Then what is the difference between revised return and updated return? Under revised return, you can revise anything. You can increase your income, you can decrease your income. You can claim loss, you can leave loss. You can claim refund, you can pay tax. It's upon your choice. But under updated return, there are some restrictions. You cannot decrease your tax liability. You cannot claim extra loss. You cannot increase your refund. So, moral of the story, under updated return, only you can increase your tax liability. You cannot reduce it. You can make that liability same or increase. You cannot reduce it. So it's a debatable issue that if you are providing updated income tax return option, then why I cannot claim the benefit? The department say no, it is for our benefit. If the tax liability is going to be increased, only in that case you can file your updated return. So if any income you have escaped, or if any income you forgot or you omit to include in your normal return, or you are not able to file your return, you forgot to file your return, then now you can file that return after 31st December. But tax liability cannot be decreased, loss cannot be increased, refund cannot be increased, refund can be decreased. Further, can be filed only once per year. You cannot revise updated return. That is not possible. You cannot revise it. Only amount of income to be offered to tax is to be specified. The extra income, whatever you want to include, you need to specify that. Okay. No return can be filed if departmental proceedings are going on. If your case has been opened in income tax department, if any legal proceeding has been carrying on under the department for your that year case, you cannot file updated return. If a taxpayer file an updated return and does not pay the additional tax, then the return would be invalid. There must be some extra tax you have to pay. There is some concept of additional tax. You have to pay that. If you did not pay taxes, then your return would be invalid. Technically, you are not able to file it. The additional tax liability in some case 25% and in some case 50%. So the time duration was 2 years. So for within first year, it would be additional tax liability would be 25%. And in the second year, if you file the update return, the additional tax liability would be 50%. So whatever extra tax you are paying, you decided to pay 10,000 rupees extra. You are declaring your income, extra income in updated return, and the tax is increased. Extra tax you are going to pay 10,000 on that income. So with this tax of 10,000, you have to pay extra 25% additional tax or even 50% of additional tax. Option to file, we have already discussed those provision. Non-applicability of the provision of updated return. If it is a loss return, you cannot file it. If you want to claim loss your return, if you want to decrease your tax liability, you cannot do that. You cannot increase your refund or you cannot claim refund. Earlier it was not a refund, then you cannot claim refund. Earlier, if it is not a refund, then you cannot increase your return. Circumstances in which you cannot update your return, there are certain cases when you cannot update your return. Tax on updated return, whatever income you will show extra on which you did not pay tax, that need to be paid tax, and some additional tax need to be paid, sometime 25%, in some cases it would be 50%. We have all gone through with all those provision, of course, earlier. 234C interest we have already discussed. So when it's 25%, when it's 50%, the provision says if such return is furnished after expiry of the time available under section 139(4) or 5, that means after 31st December 24 of the assessment year and before completion of the period of 12 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. So if 31st March 24, if return is filed from 1st January 25 till 31st March 25, the additional tax liability would be 25%. And if that updated return has been filed from 1st April 25 till 31st March 26, then 50% of aggregate or additional tax liability you have to pay. Now, defective return. So if you forgot anything in your return of income and your department intimated you, like you have a tax liability of 20,000, you have paid the tax, but you are forgot to submit the details, the date of payment of tax, the challan number, the bank detail, etc. If you forgot that, if you are deducted some TDS from your income and you forgot to claim that TDS, or you claimed higher TDS, then department can intimate you about the defect and you have to rectify those defects within a prescribed time which has been given in the notice. If you rectify that defect, it return would be called a normal return, and the date of submission of return would be that date on which the original return has been filed. But if you are not able to rectify that defects within the specified time, then your return would be invalid return. Two 34F penalty would be late filing of return, that is 1,000 and 5,000. That would be chargeable, of course. 24 months would be from 31st March 24 we will count. So it would end on 31st March 26, not on 31st March 27. Okay. Additional tax liability, if the return is tax is zero, then there would be no additional tax liability. Okay. Defective return provision we have discussed already in detail. Fees for furnishing return of income late. So where a person who is required to furnish a return of income under section 139 fails to do so, he shall pay by way of a fee a sum of rupees 5,000. However, if the total income of the person does not exceed 5 lakh, the fees payable shall not exceed 1,000. So after due date, if you file your return of income, then the fees would be 1,000 or 5,000. If your total income is not more than 5 lakh, then it would be 1,000. If it is more than 5 lakh, then it would be 5,000. If your total income would be up to basic exemption limit, then there would be no late fees. Income tax transparency, that is all about submitting of PAN in various transactions. That is a complete procedural part. There is nothing technical. There are transactions, but these are most important, and I should say very important for the purpose of examination. So a third category of question could be from this topic, that those are transactions for which we need to give our PAN number. There are multiple transactions which needs to submission of your PAN number in different scenarios. But in my opinion, the more important thing is the value of transaction. These transactions 20. These transactions you need to learn, and majority of transaction having the same amount, that is 50,000. Majority, almost 70-80% cases, the amount limit is 50,000. Whether it's for mutual fund, whether it's for foreign currency, hotel payment, you can see. So the common amount is 50,000, not in all cases, but in almost 70-80% cases, the transaction, those are specified over here having the limit of 50,000. So you should read all those transactions. Almost 18 transactions are there for which you have to submit your PAN. Then we have to update PAN with our Aadhaar card number, etc. For those concepts, the provision has been given over here. We have already discussed all these provisions in our normal class. Linking Aadhaar with PAN is also an important topic for your examination purpose. So now we will take a small break, and then when we will come back, we will discuss our MCQs and past year question paper for this chapter, that is chapter number 8. So Mr. Bhargav, can we go for a small break of 10 minutes? Mr. Bhargav, break for 10 minutes. भार्गव जी स्टार्ट करें. Okay. So welcome back everyone. I hope you must have your tea, coffee, etc. That must be ready to for the MCQ part of today class. Okay. So Bhumika is asking, sir, if there's a holiday on due date of filing of return, then what to do? We have to file our return now on online mode, so there is no problem regarding holiday, etc. Does not matter. Return date will remain the same. Okay. So MCQ part need to be discussed. There is question number 1. Read it carefully and then give me your answer. So question as per section 139(1), a company shall have to file return of income when total income exceeding 250, when total income exceeding maximum amount not chargeable to tax, when total income exceeding 3 lakh rupees, or whatever may be its income. So Malu is saying C, Abhishek is saying, Bhumika is saying B, Arinjan is saying D, Abhishek Singh is saying D. So we are asking for a company case. We are asking for company case. So is there any exemption limit or basic exemption limit in case of a company? No. There is no basic exemption limit in case of a company. And we have discussed in the starting of this chapter, then for a company and a firm, ITR need to be filed irrespective of its income. So what should be the correct answer? D is the correct answer. Clear? Second, as per section 139(1), an individual other than an individual of age of 60 years, age of 60 years or more opts to be taxed under the optional tax regime shall have to file ITR if total income exceeding 250, total income exceeding 3 lakh rupees, total income before allowing exemption under section 54, 54B, D, EC, F, G, GA, GB, and deduction of section 80C to 80U exceeded 2,50,000 rupees. What should be the correct answer? Kindly read the language clearly. Individual other than an individual of age of 60 or more, or total income before allowing deduction of section 80C to 80U exceed 2,50,000. So the correct answer is of course C. If your total income before allowing exemption under section 54 B, D, E, C, F, G, GA, GB and deduction under section 80C to 80U exceeded 2,50,000, then that individual needs to file its income tax return. Next, it's very interesting. Raja dies on 25th December 2023 and his total income till 25th December 23 was 3,50,000. Thereafter, his business was inherited by his daughter Rani and her total income from such business was 1,75,000. Of course, after death of Raja, the remaining time duration income from that income was 1,75,000. Daughter does not have any other income. In this scenario, she has to file consolidated ITR of 525, has to file only one ITR of her father 3,50,000, has to file two ITR on behalf of father for 3,50,000 and for herself 1,35,000, or none of the above. So Abhishek is saying A, Pooja is saying B, Malu is saying C. What is the correct answer? Arinjan is saying B, Bhumika is saying C, Khushi is also saying C. Okay. So we cannot consolidate ITR because the assessee till 25th 23 was her father, and now the assessee is Miss Rani. So we cannot consolidate the income. It is not the question of clubbing of income. So we are clubbing the income of father into the income of daughter. No, that is a separate question. So there are two cases. Till 25th of December, Raja was the owner and then Rani. But the income cannot be consolidated in any case. Now option number A cannot be correct because of the consolidation reason. Has to file ITR on behalf of father 350 is correct, but she should not, that is no mandatory condition that she should file her ITR because income is below taxable limit. So the correct answer is option number B. She needs to file only one ITR of her father, that is 3,50,000 rupees. No other option is correct because in this case she need not to file her ITR. None of the above is also an incorrect answer because the correct answer is point number B. That is, she needs to file the ITR of her father only. The correct option is B. Next. The due date of filing of return of income under section 139(1) for assessment year 24-25 in case of a company is it 30th September? Is it 30th September of assessment year? Is it 31st October of assessment year? Or is it D? That is 30th November of assessment year in case needs to furnish report under section 92E, and 31st of October of assessment year on other cases. Remember, the date has been extended to 15th of November. So if there is an option of 15th of November, then you can opt that option also in the examination. Only for those persons, those ITR filing date was 31st October has been extended till 15th of November. So if there is any option of 15th of November in this case, 30th November for non-resident, and if 31st October in place of 31st October, 15th November has been given, then you can opt that option also. The correct answer is D. D is the complete answer. C is also answer. That is 31st October assessment year. That could be an answer. But suppose if that company falls under transfer pricing provision, we do not know about that company. Whatever information is given in the question, that do that company or does that company fall under transfer pricing provision or not? So if it is not mentioned, so generally it happens that from MCQ, we need to opt the most accurate answer. So if we are not able to find out the accurate or exclusive answer, there are choices then we have to opt that answer which should cover the more condition also. So technically 31st October is also correct, but the D option is covering more cases, that it's considering those cases also in which if transfer pricing provision is applicable. So the correct answer would be D, that is 30th November if 92 is furnished report provision applicable, and 31st October if any other case. So the correct option would be option number D. Okay. Next. The due date of filing of return of income under section 139(1) for assessment year 24-25 in case of a working partner of a firm whose accounts are required to be audited shall be. So what is the meaning of whose? Is it talking about firm, or is it talking about partners' accounts to be audited? So what is the meaning of whose in this sentence? You have to understand the meaning of whose. Abhishek is saying firm. Bhumika is saying partner. Om Krishnan is saying working partner. Komalpreet Kaur is saying firm account. Okay. So what is the meaning of whose word in this sentence? Whether we are talking about firm or whether we are talking about partners. Who just saying firm. Malu is saying partner. The correct is firm. Whose accounts are required to be partner. They're not saying whom accounts are required to be partner. So for non-living, we generally use whose word. For living, we use whom. So technically the word is whose. So that means we are talking about firm. So if you are a partner of a firm, suppose there is X, Y, Z and company, a partnership firm, whose accounts are required to be audited. Then the working partner of this firm, return date would also be same as per the return date of that partnership firm. So what should be the correct answer? Arin is saying A. Please read all options before giving your answer. Arin, your answer is wrong. Komalpreet is saying D. Suppose that partnership firm falls under transfer pricing provision. Transfer pricing is not only for company. Transfer pricing applicable for all person if they satisfied certain condition of arm length price, international transaction, domestic transaction, etc. That would be deal in your final level. So the correct answer would be D. Okay. The due date of filing the return of income under section 139(1) for assessment year 24-25 in case of a non-working partner of a firm whose accounts are required to be audited shall be. The answer would remain the same. The filing date of return of loss in case of a person other than a company or firm is compulsory, non-compulsory, compulsory if assessee has to carry forward loss which are allowed to be carried forward and set off, or compulsory if assessee has to carry forward loss more than 1 lakh rupees. Now you can see in this question there is nothing about your income exemption, that if your income is exceeding basic exemption limit, etc. So there is no information regarding the income on the basis of which the question is asking that whether return filing is mandatory or not. So we have to find out which condition should be applicable, and the correct answer would be C. If you want to carry forward your losses, etc., then you have to file your return of income. So compulsory, no compulsion. Non-compulsory, that is not an answer. But compulsory if assessee has to carry forward losses which are allowed to be carried forward in certain. That is a correct answer in this case. If assessee wants to carry forward the loss, except loss under that income from house property, the return of loss must be submitted. What should be the correct answer? On or before due date under section 139(1), any time before end of 9 months from the end of the previous year, at any time before end of assessment year, or none of the above. Bhumika is saying A, Kavita is saying A, Arin is saying B, okay. Pooja is saying A. So section 80 connected with section 139(3), which is return of loss, says that except income from house property and unabsorbed depreciation, except these two, if you want to carry forward and set off your loss in future, then you have to file your return up to due date as per section 139(1). So the correct answer, of course, option number 1 would be the correct answer in this scenario. I hope it's clear. Chalo, next. Now, belated return can be filed at any time under section 139(4). What is the correct answer? Om Krishnan, Om Gupta is saying C. Bhumika is saying C. Arin is saying C. Pooja is saying C. Okay. Komal Preet is saying C. Malu Jadar is also saying C. Everybody is saying C. And the, of course, correct answer is C. So what is the date technically we need to understand? That would be 31st December 2024. For the purpose of our previous year 23-24, assessment year 24-25. Clear? Well done. What is the last date of filing of ITR for assessment year 24-25 if no assessment has been done? Very simple question. We just discussed it in question number 9 also. Of course, the correct answer is B. 31st December 2024. Now, this is my favorite question. Question number 11. I will read it and then you have to answer and I will ask the correct answer. What is the last date of filing of ITR for assessment year 24-25 if assessment has been done on 10th-12-2024 and it was communicated to the assessee on 25th December 24? So what should be the last date of filing of ITR? Khushi is saying C. Okay. Pooja is saying B. Komal Preet is saying A. Waiting for more answers. Abhishek, Om Krishna Om. What is the correct answer? Kavita is saying D. Bhumika is saying D. Okay, Malu is saying D. The question is, what should be the last date of filing ITR for assessment year 24-25? So that would be called a belated return technically. That would be called a belated return if you did not file. So technically, I am asking what is the last date of filing of belated return? And we know the first is 31st December 2024. And the second is before completion of assessment. And whichever is earlier. So I have written down the provision over here. Now you have to give me the correct answer after looking at the provisions. So it is just like providing your book in your examination that this is the provision on the basis of which you have to find out the correct answer. So now what should be the correct answer? Do you need to revise your answers or are you still saying option C, A, B, D, whatever you have said earlier? 31st December or before completion of assessment. Assessment has been done on 10th December 24, which has been communicated to 25th December 24. So assessment has been completed on 10th December 24. The correct answer would be before completion. So 10th would not be taken for the purpose of comparison. The date would be 9th December 24 because on 10th the assessment has been done. And this is before completion of assessment. So earlier would be chosen from 31st December or 9th of December, whichever is earlier. So the correct answer would be this. And that means option number B. So even if after writing the provision, you are giving me answer C or A or D. So that means that if you did not try your question, if you did not practice your numerical or these kind of question, so even in that situation, if you have even book in your hands, you won't be able to find out the correct answer. Understood? So that is before completion of assessment. So the assessment has been completed on 10th. The date would be 9th December. So we have to compare it with the 9th December 2024. So correct option is option number B. How interesting it was. Yes, assessment means order passed. Next. For previous year 22-23, Assassi has suffered a business loss of 3 lakh. His income from other sources 1,30,000. His due date of ITR is 31st July 23, but he filed ITR on 19th October 23. Now you will need to tell me which is the correct statement out of these following four. A, B, C or D. Arun Jain is saying C. Abhishek Singh is saying C. Arun Jain is saying B actually. Okay. More answers? You cannot carry forward of your losses if you did not file your return up to due date if that is losses other than income from house property and unabsorbed depreciation. So according to this provision, which option is correct in your opinion? Pooja is saying C, Bhumika is saying B, Komal Preet is saying C. And the correct answer is C. Why? Because you cannot carry forward, but you can set off at least. So business losses of 3 lakh, first of all, going to be set off with income from other source. So out of this 3 lakh, 130 is going to be set off. So remaining would be 1,70,000. So late filing of ROI did not block the current year set of provision. It only block carry forward and set of provisions. So whatever losses has not been set off in this year would not be able to carry forward in future years. So the correct option would be C. Question number 13. For previous year 22-23, assessee has suffered a income from house property losses of 1,20,000. His income from other sources 50,000. His due date of ITR is 31st July 2023. But he filed ROI ITR on 19th October 23. Now, what would be the correct answer of this? Now you understand, with the help of last MCQ, you understood that what should be the correct answer. Of course, again the same condition. Assessee has suffered a house property losses of 1,20,000. And income from other source is 50,000. Even ROI has been filed after due date, but that would not restrict to carry forward losses because it's a house property head losses. So out of this 120, 50,000 is going to be set off in the same year. And the balance amount of 70,000 can be carried forward because these are the losses which are connected with income from house property. Clear? The correct answer is option number C. Now point number 14. Question number 14, sorry. And it says, for previous year 22-23, we are talking about previous year 22-23. Assessee had suffered a business loss of 1 lakh and carry current year depreciation was 1,60,000. His due date is 31st October 23, but he filed ITR on 12/12/23. In this case, assessee shall. We are discussing a question with previous year 22-23 concept. The question asks, allowed current year business losses carry forward of 1 lakh and unabsorbed depreciation of 1,60,000. Cannot carry forward any loss and unabsorbed depreciation. Cannot carry forward 1 lakh rupees business loss, but can carry forward unabsorbed depreciation of 1,60,000. Or it could be answer like none. So what is the correct answer? Abhishek is saying C. Now, even if this is financial year 23-24, and if I have changed date, this is to 24, and this is again 24, the answer would remain the same. The provision says the business losses cannot be carried forward and set off if the return of income has not been filed up to due date of ROI. But unabsorbed depreciation in income from house property is out of this restriction. And because this is not applicable on unabsorbed depreciation, then they can not carry forward 1 lakh business loss, but can carry forward unabsorbed depreciation of 1,60,000 rupees. I hope it's clear. A person can furnish an updated ITR if what should be the correct answer of this question? Komal is saying D. Abhishek is saying B. More answers. Pooja is saying D. Malu is saying D. Om Krishna Gupta is saying D. Of course, the updated return could be filed. Whether you have filed your ITR earlier or not, it does not matter. So the option D is the correct option, which says whether or not he has filed or furnished ITR under section 139(1), 139(4), or 139(5. Clear? The provision of section 139(8)(a) shall not apply in case updated return. Read the question and option and give me the correct answer. Om Krishna is saying D. Komal Preet is saying D. Bhumika is saying D. For filing an update return, there are some restrictions. And we could see under an updated return, is a return of loss is not allowed. We cannot file update return with a return of loss. If it has the effect of decreasing the tax liability on the basis of ITR filed earlier in section 139 or 4, 139(1), 4 or 5. So the return of loss is not allowed. If you want to decrease your tax liability, which have been filed earlier, that is not allowed. Result in refund or increment of refund, that is also not allowed. So all these three conditions not allowed if you want to file a return as an updated return under section 139(8)(a). So correct answer would be D, not C, Pooja. It would be D because all three conditions are there. In these three conditions, you cannot file your updated return. Now, X finds some omission in the ITR filed by him on 5th July 2024. For assessment year 24-25, he wants to revise such return. Can he do so? If no assessment has been done in this case, X can revise these return up to which date? Okay, Abhishek is saying A, Arun is saying A, Kavita is saying C, Komal Preet is saying A, Om Krishnan is saying A, C, Pooja is saying A, Bhumika is saying A. Om Krishnan and one more student was answering C. Why Om Krishnan? Why should we C? What is the reason that you are giving option number C is incorrect answer? Now, logically, can anyone tell why it's wrong answer? Option number C is wrong. Yes, 24 months. But what is the question? You have to read the question first. So anyone can tell why the answer could not be C. Because there's a date, we can file the return up to 31st March 26. But why in this question, option C? Yes, Arun is correctly saying we are asking when a revised return can be filed. Revised return. Revised return word is not for 31st March 26. That is called updated return. For revised return, that is section 139(5). It does not give you power to revise your return up to 31st March 26. It gives you only power to revise your return up to 24. Updated return should be the word. If the question was here regarding the when update return can be filed, then you can opt the option C. Otherwise, you cannot opt the option number C. It would be an incorrect answer. Clear? Okay. last question, I guess, from MCQ. X Limited finds some mistake in the ITR filed by on 15th October 24. X Limited wants to revise such return. Can he do so if no assessment has been done in this case? X Limited can revise this return up to which date? What should be the correct answer? Om Krishnom is saying 18. Answer is correct. Option A. Abhishek is saying A. Of course, we can revise the return latest by 31st March 24. That is the correct answer. Okay. Now we will discuss May 2023 and November to May 2024 and November 2023 question. There is one or two amendment also regarding filing of return provisions, and these are regarding the PAN number submission. There is nothing very technical, etc. So you could go on the website, download the amendments, and there is regarding clarification regarding submission of PAN number. So just go through that circular in notification. That is not that complicated, just a revisionary part, normal provision. So we now need to discuss. Just give me a minute for your questions. First of all, May 2024 question. And you would see that the questions are so easy. There's nothing difficult in those questions, and you can easily answer the questions. And the question is on page number 15. Now here are the provision. State with reason whether the following. We have the question. State with reason following person are required to file their return of income as per the provision of the Income Tax 1961 for the assessment year 24-25 or not. Simple. First one. Mr. Anish, age 31 year, who opted for default tax regime under section 115 BAC, had a total income of 2,90,000 for the previous year 23-24. How simple this question is. Can you believe this? These are 4 marks question. And that's what I was trying to tell you at the starting, that those 25-30 marks paper which will be out of these provision, these kind of question, you can easily score 25 or 24 out of those 30 marks paper. Easily. Because these kind of question going to be asked. Okay, so Arinjan is saying not required. Pooja is saying not required. Arinjan again saying, he's answering for second question. So the question number 1 answer would be, of course, not required. Why not required? Because the basic exemption limit is 3 lakh rupees for default tax regime. And his income does not exceed that. So technically, he need not to file any income tax. Now let me know. You are not able to get full marks in these kind of question or not? Of course, you will be able to get full marks in these kind of question. And that is the question of 2024 May paper. And these kind of question would be there. Now, second one. Shrimati Patel, age 65 years, has a TDS credit of 55,000 during the previous year 23-24. Arun is saying required. Komal Preet is saying required to file. What is the limit? Till what limit we need not to file return in case of senior citizen up to a certain amount of TDS credit? Yes, the correct amount is 50,000. Now it is 55,000. So of course, Shrimati Patel needs to file ITR because TDS credit is more than 50,000. You will get full marks in this. That might be for 1 marks. That might be for 1 marks, and that might be for 2 marks. How does it matter? the gross receipt of Mr. Ajit, age 45 year, an architect for the previous year 23-24 was 12 lakh, but his profit from profession was only 2,25,000 and he has no other income. So yes or no, Komalpreet is saying required. Why Komalpreet? Why in third case Mr. Ajit wants required to file ITR more than 10 lakh? Very good. In case of profession, if your receipt is more than 10 lakh rupees, then you need to file the ITR. That is the E part, the transaction is specified. So of course your receipt is exceeding 10 lakh rupees. So we need to file ITR. So you will get 4 marks and tell me how much time it will take. Not more than 5 to 6 minutes for answering these kind of question in examination. And look over here. Option B also you have regarding this. CBDT has wide notification number so and so inserted rule number 12AB notified which are all the person other than a company or firm who's not required to file return under section 139(1) must file the return of the income. State who are required compulsory to file the return. So technically they are asking these transactions which has been mentioned in this circular. So on the basis of which you have to file your return of income. So this is the answer over there. You can see. If turnover exceeding 60 lakh rupees, receipt is more than 10 lakh, TDS 25, 50, deposit 50 lakh, etc. So even you can answer those part also. So that is May 2024 question. Now let me show you the November 2023 question, and in that question there was TRP provision has been asked. Tax return prepare question and the provision has been asked. That is for also 4 marks, I guess. Let me share that also with you. For November 23. Page number 15. That was a TRP provision. You can see over here, question number 4C, again 4 marks. So, in the context of tax return prepare scheme 2006, explain the following. So, what are eligible person in case of TRP? Their education qualification and their person not entitled to act as a return prepare. That was a theoretical question. So, these theoretical provision and the option question was regarding the TCS. So theoretical provisions are also important for your examination. You cannot ignore them. So please focus on theoretical provision as well as the numerical provision. In the starting of the class, I have explained you a strategy for completing your chapter wise. So if you will able to complete those easier chapter like residential status we have discussed, TDS, etc. So you will be very confident that out of those 50 marks question paper, 25 to 30 marks question paper, I am going to solve with 80% or 85% marks obtained probability. And balance 25 or 20 marks paper, I am able to solve with 50 or 60% probability. So you will get almost 35 to 40 marks out of those 50 marks of income tax easily in examination. Remember that strategy, that will definitely going to help you over there. Okay. If you want to see, I can show you the TRP provision also. Who can be a TRP? This is the provision regarding which the question has been asked in May 2023. Who can be a TRP, who cannot be a TRP, etc. These are the applicability, eligible person, tax return preparer, who cannot, what is the eligible qualification, an individual who holds a bachelor degree from a recognized Indian university or institute or has passed any intermediate level examination by the institute of chartered accountants or company secretary or cost accountant. This is the education qualification. You must be a bachelor degree, that means you must be in graduate, or you have passed your intermediate level of CA, CS, or cost accountant institute, then you could also be a TRP. Who's just asking, BCom C intermediate student can become TRP? Yes, you could be a TRP, of course. So students, any more queries? Because we are almost completed this session. So if you have any more query, you can ask me, and otherwise we will resume on 21st of November with our chapter number 9, that is computation of total income and your tax liability. And it's a request from my side because that is the last chapter of income tax, which comprise each and everything. TDS provision, set of provision, clubbing provision, salary provision, house property, etc. So please revise those chapter once if you want to understand that topic. And in my opinion, the most important, you should revise basic concept for the purpose of rates of tax. That is most important. If you're not able to revise all those chapters, just revise basic concept and PGBP and salary. These three topics you need to revise because most of the question belongs to these conditions. Other provisions are very simple, like deduction will be from section 80C, 80G, etc. So it won't be that much a big problem. But please revise chapter number 1, chapter PGBP, and salary. These three chapters you should revise before understanding the last chapter number 9 provision, what we are going to discuss on 21st of November, and other classes on, I guess, 23rd of November. So if there's any more query, then I will answer that. Otherwise, we are going to shut this session. Arun asking, sir, what we have attempt first GST or income tax on exam and the time ratio to complete the said subject. Time ratio would be 1.5 hour to each part, 50 marks, 1.5 hour. And what should be your attempt, GST or income tax? So I told you in that steps or tricks that you should know your weaknesses and strength. So that 15 minutes you will get before starting your writing your paper, you should find it out. In both part, which part is easy for you for that attempt. If you will find that you are more comfortable in that examination paper with GST part, you are well prepared for GST, and you are, after seeing the question, you are already confident that I can solve this question easily, then go for GST. And if you are feeling the same thing for income tax part, that income tax part is more easy for me according to the examination paper, and after seeing that question, if you are comfortable that yes, I am very confident for income tax part, then firstly go for your income tax part, because that will boost your confidence for the part B of GST. If you attempt that part in which you are not that comfortable, or you are feeling that these questions I did not know, then it would be really difficult. You will be more nervous, and those questions which are easy, you might be solve them incorrect in that pressure also. Sir, if person not being TRP prepare tax return, under which head of income he will classify fee charge? That would be a consultancy fee. If that he's working as a nature frequency of transaction, if that is his main business, he will show that activity under his business income. So that is a kind of consultancy. It will fall under his business income, PGBP head, of course. Any other query, students? So all the best, पढ़ते रहो और be positive. Fine, अभी भी बहुत time है. If you think exam बहुत पास आ गए हैं और हमारे पास time नहीं है, you have enough time. Please just focus. अपनी पढ़ाई को जितना time दे सकते हो दो, जितनी ज्यादा मेहनत कर सकते हो करो. Because हमेशा एग्जाम से पहले ऐसा लगता है कि काश 15 दिन और होते ना, 15 days तो हो जाता है. You have 50 days, not 15. You have still 50 days. But एग्जाम से पहले हमेशा ऐसा लगता है कि जस्ट 2 weeks और होते ना, 15 दिन 10 दिन, तो मैं इस बार जरूर क्रैक कर लेता. तो वो जब आप ये बोलने वाले डायलॉग हो ना, वो अभी आपको मैं बता रहा हूँ. यू विल से दिस थिंग, और वो मैं आपको पास्ट में ले जाके बता रहा हूँ. तब बोलोगे तब कुछ नहीं. अभी आपके पास 50 days और कर लो अपनी प्रिपरेशन अच्छी तरह से करो. You have enough time, you can crack it. I believe you can crack it, and you will crack it if you will give your full focus, dedication, and if you do your sufficient time to your studies. Fine. So, Bhargav ji, can we close the session? Welcome, Kavit. We can close the session, Bhargav ji.